Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Elizabeth Benefield. I'm so excited to kick off the mid-year presentation event for the 2020-21 cohort of the NC State Social Innovation Fellows. In just its fourth year, the Social Innovation Fellows program inspires and empowers students, first year through PhD, to become global change leaders. In our monthly labs, we have studied the importance of systems thinking, human-centered design to understand problems deeply, and we have pushed students to challenge theory of change models. Our work is grounded in purpose, respectful of difference, and celebrates the talents and contributions of all in pursuit of solving the world's greatest challenges. Tonight, which is super exciting, you will hear from 29 amazing young leaders who have shown up with unmatched resilience, even as COVID has disrupted every aspect of their lives. The fellows have been placed on 6 teams, each matched with a venture partner, to design a solution to a real-world problem. Practicing our mantra, fall in love with the problem, not the solution, you will hear their progress to date. Before we get started with the program, I must give a shout out to my amazing team, Alicia Bryce, Jack Rattery, Craig Prince. I cannot thank you all enough for your devotion, for all the ways that you contribute to the success of each and every student. Thank you. I would also like to extend a special welcome to many parents and friends, donors, past fellows, university colleagues who are joining us tonight, and in particular, Dean Jeffrey Braden, who you will hear from a little bit later on this evening. It's now my pleasure to ask Tom Birkeland, Associate Dean for Research and Engagement in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, to say a few words. Tom?
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good evening, everybody. On behalf of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, I want to bring greetings from our college. The event you're going to see tonight and the event you're participating in tonight is a signature event of this SIE program, but it's more than just that. It's a signature event of the college and of the university as a whole, of all of NC State. This is a major milestone in the academic year, and I'm just so thrilled I can be a part of it and share it with you tonight. Every year, this program inspires us by showing us what our amazing students working with their venture teams and their mentors can do. And I'm just so thrilled that this program is a part of our college, that it's a part of our university, and it's had such an impact over the short time it's been here. And we expect great things. I know we'll see great things. And I suspect that most of you are here because you want to hear from our teams and our students, not from me. So what I will do is conclude my comments with that by saying that I look forward to hearing from you. And I know that tonight's program is going to be outstanding. Thanks and greetings again from the college.
Thank you, Tom. We all really appreciate your leadership and support. And it's really special that we're housed in Chas. And we appreciate more than we can say the support that we've received from you and others. Okay, so as is customary, each team tonight will have 7 minutes to present their work. You will also hear from our exceptional group of team mentors, as well as a few of our venture partners. And we have a couple of surprise guests joining us as well. So without further ado, I will turn the program over to Alicia Bryce so we can get started.
I am going to turn it over actually to Andrew DeMayo, the team mentor for A Place at the Table.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I got to say, it's just an unbelievable privilege to introduce this team. You know, this semester has just been crazy and everybody knows that. And it would have been so easy for everybody to throw up their arms and say, I give up. And if you know what our venture partner has been through this semester, it would have been so easy for them to say, we don't have time for you. But, you know, our venture partner was there for us every single week. Maggie Kane and Emily Weidman, the Place at the Table, just been unbelievably generous with their time. And this team, you know, they started off as, you know, followers, and they've become leaders over the course of the semester. And it's just been wonderful to see. And I can say that I've learned from them, and that's literally, I've learned from them. So thank you. And so I'm going to introduce each one of them. Their senior fellow is Michael Bowen, and the team is Madeline Schneider, a sophomore in entrepreneurship with a minor in nonprofits. Felicity Hops, a junior in business administration, the concentration in marketing. Leah Edwards, a junior in sustainable materials and technology with a minor in business administration. Gil Vacciani, senior in industrial and systems engineering. Braden Ben Katamaraya, I don't know if I said that right, sorry, senior in computer science. And with that, take it away, team. You've been doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so who is A Place at the Table? A Place at the Table is a pay-what-you-can cafe located in downtown Raleigh. Their website has a ton of awesome information that we found super useful during the semester, including their mission, which states that A Place at the Table provides community and good food for all, regardless of means. If you want to eat at A Place at the Table, you can pay the suggested price. You can pay at least $3, or you can pay using a token that's been given out from A Place at the Table's community partners. And if you feel inclined to pay it forward, you are encouraged to tip to help A Place at the Table fulfill their awesome mission, or you can even buy $10 tokens to give to people in need in the community.
Hi everyone, I'm Leah. I wanted to talk about the bumps in the road our team has faced throughout the semester. I think it's important to include. First of all, one of our team members, Jill, was in India as we started this semester, and with different time zones, this made Zoom meetings a little difficult to plan. Although she wasn't there for long, Braden, coincidentally, another team member, told us he would be living in India for the next month. So I think even with COVID, we all wanted to meet in person to build our bond as a team a little bit. And only a few of us could do that, unfortunately, since we were in town. The next bump in the road we hit was one of us unfortunately got COVID. Thankfully, they weren't severely impacted. However, we didn't know this meant they wouldn't be doing any work for 3 weeks straight. We're all finally in Raleigh at this point and able to go visit A Place at the Table, and we're told that they are closing down temporarily. This was a bit tough on our group. I think we saw the venture we really wanted to help struggle to the point where they couldn't even operate anymore. It was hard to know what our next step was, while they didn't even know what their next step was. But even with every little bump, I think our team did a great job of staying motivated and being positive given the circumstances.
Hi, we approached the problem-solving process by meeting with Maggie and Emily over Zoom calls to understand the problems they're facing and their expectations from us. We had a team member, Madeline, email APAT weekly with our questions. The question areas range from macro view of the business model to microscopic questions like what's on the menu and how much does it cost. Two of our team members, Laya and Madeline, also visited APAT to just experience everything and the issue and trying to understand the issues that they're facing so we can address it better. Our team also met in person to get to know each other well, because we felt it very uncomfortable to meet over Zoom. So we met in person, we tried to get to know each other, we got comfortable around each other. We also did our stakeholder mapping, system syncing, everything in person. So that was great that we were able to meet in person.
So when we started out the semester, two of the main problems that we were focused on was the Place at the Table had lost a sense of their mission, and they didn't have sufficient funds to sustain their business model. So once COVID hit, they stopped requiring tokens to be used to pay for meals, and they also could not allow community members to volunteer for their meals. And so they were handing out 300 plus free meals a day, which they couldn't sustain financially. And on top of that, they lost their main mission, which was to provide a good sense of community and dignity versus just having the feel of a soup kitchen. And so they closed down for a few weeks. And after reevaluating, we're beginning to focus more on how to help them incorporate community volunteers back into A Place at the Table. And we discussed throughout the semester our different interests. And so some of us are interested in social media and marketing, and some are interested in the mission side, and some are interested in the financial side. So we've looked a lot at what each of us are gifted in, and are planning to go into next semester focused on projects in those areas. And let's see. For our stakeholder mapping, we started out on Mural, and then we decided to meet in person and do the stakeholder mapping. And so this was our final stakeholder map, and the red lines show a lot of the interconnectedness between each of the main clusters.
We plotted the system thinking pyramid to understand how each component fits in the overall system. COVID-19 is the main influencer for most structural components. Due to COVID-19, the government and the companies issued certain policies like work from home orders that cap the maximum number of people that can be present in a room together, no in-person sitting, etc. And these have deeply affected APAT, as most paying customers don't want to stand in long lines or for the pickup orders. Additionally, APAT gave out around 300 free meals every day in past couple of months, compared to 60, 70 free meals pre-COVID. These factors have majorly hit the revenue and made it difficult for APAT to keep running. So COVID-19 is playing a major role in structural changes. Speaking of relational changes, neighboring businesses and apartments might have an issue with long lines or a lot of crowds around APAT, especially since a good part of the crowd consists of homeless people. Additionally, people who cannot pay the full suggested price may feel inferior or be hesitant when visiting APAT. One important point that falls under mental model is that people view APAT as a food bank and not a for-profit cafe. This leads to people thinking that they don't want to take of a meal that might benefit someone else who is in need, or they don't want to go to a table for lunch. However, APAT is just like any other cafe with good food and ambience. The only difference is they're welcome to everyone despite their ability to pay.
So the theory of change defines long-term goals and then maps backward to identify the necessary preconditions. So one of the so our end goal was social impact was providing the community and good food for all, regardless of means, which comes under the One World Everybody Eats network. The social value, which is the what we try to achieve to create the social value, is a place where you can always find a healthy, affordable meal with a dignified dining experience, regardless of your background. And going even further, we go into the outputs, which would be the results of the activities pursued. And some of the outputs are serving over 1,800 customers and redeeming over 517 tokens, which we're incredibly proud of despite the mission realignment and COVID and everything. And so the activities that would that helped achieve the end outputs were opportunities for people to pay for their meal by volunteering their time, which unfortunately can be done due to governmental restrictions at the moment, and families eating for free. And some of the resources that help accomplish these goals are continued community involvement and monetary donations.
So in our last lab, we did theory of change and empathetic thinking. We included the graphic that was in the exercise in the lab because we thought it was pretty representative and it was a great example to use. So with empathetic thinking, I found this awesome quote that says, "Seeking to understand before seeking to be understood." And when thinking about our example for a food insecure customer, we realized that none of our team members have experienced food insecurity. We all come from backgrounds where our needs were pretty much fulfilled. So current state, food insecure customers, are worrying about how they're going to be received at a place at the table. They're wishing that they didn't have to go somewhere to get a free meal. They're feeling hungry and frustrated and scared and judged and discouraged. And we want food insecure customers upon their visit to a place at the table to be inclined to pay it forward. We want them to be able to look at other people just like them and say, now that I'm fulfilled and my needs are met and I feel welcome in this space, I want to help someone else. So basically, our goal for the exercise was to put ourselves in the shoes of other people that suffer from food insecurity and to continue our learning with empathetic thinking. We're planning to have 1 to 2 team members volunteer on a weekly basis.
So lastly, I just want to say we're all super excited to be working with the Place at the Table and to get started on our upcoming projects next semester. So thank you.
Thank you, APAT team. That was really amazing. And so I'm going to keep it moving right along to our next team mentor, who is Raj Narayan. Raj, take it away.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Raj Narayan, and I've been privileged to be the mentor for the all-ladies compost facility team. So this includes the wonderful Haley Hall, who's our senior fellow, my colleague Tara Spivey from the Keenan Institute, and of course, Julia Bryan, Eden Milan, Stephanie Gongora, and Sky Pham. And we owe a debt of gratitude also to our venture partners, Adam Bensley and Matt Ball. So first of all, I appreciate the ladies allowing me to be an honorary lady and being part of this team. It's been a great exploration over the course of this semester. And there's several things that jump out to me that I want to just briefly talk to you about. This team has worked with intentionality, focus, proactiveness, but more than anything, what's really jumped out to me over the course of the semester is the mindfulness with which they've worked. We've spent every week on Zoom, a couple times a week, but this team has found a way to find some space in our togetherness, an opportunity to be meditative, to think, and reflect during our meetings. And I think that's made a huge difference in the quality of the work that they've accomplished, and the discipline with which we've been able to move forward on this. So ladies, I'm extremely grateful to have been your mentor this semester. I'm really looking forward to working with you in the spring. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to you and take it away. Thank you so much.
Okay, so my team and I got the amazing chance to work with the compost facility. And as Raj already did the introductions, we worked with the senior fellow Haley Hall, with my other fellows, mentors Raj, Tara, and then our venture partners Adam and Matt. So, so why compost? Essentially, if you guys don't know what compost is or how to compost, don't feel like you're by yourself. Myself, when I moved first to NC State, it was a foreign concept to me until I got the chance to visit the compost facility and I saw the issue through my eyes, and I saw the microplastics lying everywhere. And because I am passionate about plastic pollution, that sort of curiosity didn't trigger inside of me until I saw the microplastics. And so I thought to myself, why is there so much contamination, and is there something that we can do about it?
To set up the scene for our work, I'll give a little background information. The NC State Sustainability Strategic Plan set a goal to achieve a 70% waste diversion rate on campus by 2020. This vision brought them to create the Compost Facility and Research Cooperative, which is a closed loop system for organic waste at NC State. The food scraps and paper products that you compost in green bins on campus are processed into a nutrient-rich fertilizer, which is then reused around landscapes and dining facilities on campus. But since its release, there have been some new challenges, the major one being contamination, as Stephanie previously mentioned. So contamination is any non-organic matter that slips in with the compost. In large enough numbers, it actually pollutes the final product fertilizer and would make it unable to use. So our goal is to work on reducing contamination by identifying, understanding, and responding to its key sources.
Project scoping helped us create a framework for our project and helped us better understand different aspects of how we were going to approach contamination. With that, we started with the what, which was to redesign the waste sorting experience by creating ways to properly educate the NC State community about composting. It tends not to be a very popular subject where most people know about recycling. Again, for whom? The NC State community, which includes students, visitors, staff, and the rest of faculty. And along with that, we live in a world where there are inconsistent products used on campus. And along with that, we have to factor in human behavior where people's day-to-day lives differ from each other. So we have to take in cultural differences. And we also have to take into account that Tally gets about 20,000 visitors every day. And there's going to be variation in how people partake in the waste sorting experience. They're not always going to take the time to sort through everything. So we have to make clear signage for people to understand and to move forward with composting.
So after thoroughly defining our problem through the project scoping activity, we wanted to take a step back and think about all the parties that were involved with our project. So we did this through the stakeholder mapping exercise. And this really challenged us to think about connectivity. We brainstormed all the stakeholders involved and their different motivations, and then drew connections between them. So this slide shows a snapshot of just 3 different stakeholders that we wanted to focus on. And this really helped us to utilize inclusivity when brainstorming a solution, like trying to think about how we can design a solution that takes into consideration the motivations of multiple parties.
Systems thinking allowed us to see the interconnectivity of various players that are either involved and or impacted directly or indirectly. In order to influence change on the bigger picture, we identified that there had to be structural, relational, and transformative changes. So for structural, we identified that in community training at NC State on learning how to compost, there are language barriers, and the training is usually offered in English, and there are some Spanish native speakers. And we also identified that there are resource and financial limitations when it comes to bringing uniformity amongst campus products. And for then relational, we understood that there's just a mixed understanding of what waste management is. And for transformative, we came to understand that individuals just don't understand the collective impact of what proper waste diversion can actually result in.
Building off of our project scoping, some assumptions that we wanted to consider while exploring empathetic thinking were that people are not inherently against composting and that some people just don't understand the net impact of composting. So when working through our empathetic thinking, we wanted to approach it from the point of view of both the interested and non-interested student. And something that we found interesting from doing this exercise was that what separated the interested and non-interested student is how they approach their confusion surrounding composting. The interested student becomes curious when they're faced with uncertainty, while the uninterested student experiences frustration and apathy. Our hope is that in an ideal future, they will both understand how to effectively and correctly sort their waste, allowing them to feel empowered and take pride in their decision to compost.
We want to facilitate a broader impact on the NC State community to ignite real change, which in this case is mitigating the impact of microplastics. By implementing the theory of change, we're taking a step back and analyzing how we actually get to our desired impact. With this, we're working backwards, so we have our strategies, our direct outputs, which in this case, we're working on a medium that includes art activism, as well as research-based information to draw the attention of people who are looking at our project. Our expected outcome is to affect human behavior, improve relationships in terms of the waste sorting experience and regular people, as well as increasing a demand for sustainable products on campus, specifically in Tally. So again, our desired impact is empowering the NC State community to have the enduring confidence, understanding, and necessary behavior to correctly sort their waste, therefore mitigating contamination in the compost.
Considering everything we learned this semester through our meetings with venture partners of dining, waste reduction, and other stakeholders, the team plans on pursuing a solution that combines the elements of art and education in an interactive display. It will not only require a continuation of research that the Waste Reduction Office is doing, but also create a coalition by reaching out for other student organization partnerships to be a part of the story. It will aim to increase engagement through storytelling and impact measurement through art activism, as Eden mentioned, and will continue to inform the waste reduction and recycling team on effective communication strategies for the campus community. Thank you, of course, to the SIF staff, our venture partners, Adam and Matt again, our mentors, Raj and Dara, and everyone else who makes SIF great. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a few special guests this evening to break up some of the presentations. You all remember her from our first lab, Krystal Argentin. I want to welcome her to say a few things to you all. She is a community builder and a professional host.
Am I coming in clear? I have this earpiece on, so, okay, yes, I got the green light, so I'll say less, because I think I got like 4 sentences. So, good evening. And thank you so much for allowing me to be here. If I had to leave you with a couple of sentences about your year or going into the new semester, we had something that we said during the last fellow link up, and I think it was just wear the damn red pants. And the reason why we said that is really more so about just doing something new and bridging the gap between the connection with other people that you usually wouldn't connect with. So thank you so much for giving me the space and opportunity to sew into you guys. I'm really excited and I cannot wait for next semester.
Thank you, Krystal.
Look, I'm like, and seen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we also have Adam, who is our venture partner with the Compost facility, and we are going to invite you, Adam, to give a few remarks if you would like to.
Thanks, Alicia. I just want to start by thanking the team for all of their hard work. I think Raj did a great job of summing the team up in his introduction. The mindfulness and the hard work they put in, it really shows, you know, when we meet every other week, I can tell that they've really been giving it their all. And it's an honor to work with them. Waste is usually the last thing on people's mind. So it's the first thing on our mind, but usually the last thing on everyone else's mind. And for them to come into our world and to get up to speed with the issues, which was a lot, it took a lot to do that. It means a lot to us. We really, really appreciate that they'll come into our world and help us solve our problems. And the problem of contamination, it's not just a problem at NC State. It's a problem everywhere that organic waste is collected for composting. Some composters take the easy way out with contamination and say, we're only going to take food waste only. We're not going to take any compostable products, even if they are compostable. And they take the easy way out with dealing with contamination. But at NC State, we can't do that. You know, we have to accept the compostable materials, and that's one way that we strive towards reaching our diversion goals. So really, that's why this work is so important. The outcome won't just affect us at NC State. It'll be something that we can share with our peer institutions. with UNC Chapel Hill down the road, with Appalachian State out in the mountains. You know, as a land grant institution, that's one of our primary goals, is to get the best information and to get it out there to everybody else. And I feel like this team is going to allow us to do that. Is they're going to set us up for success, and then it'll in turn set other folks up for success. So great job so far. I'm really looking forward to the spring semester, and thank you all.
Thank you so much. All right, switching gears, I am now going to turn it over to our team mentor, Jane Rogers, with Team All We Are.
What I was basically saying was that I was thanking everyone for their participation and for letting us know more about their projects. My team has been working with Nathan Thomas' team, All We Are, which is a US-based team and also based in Uganda. And I think that the team would tell you that they have been welcomed into an organization that is totally transparent right off the bat, with Nathan inviting the team to come to an international meeting. And I think the teams had just been formed for a couple of weeks before our team had an opportunity to join in that international meeting and seeing what the operations were on the ground in the US and in Uganda. Some of the attributes that I've seen in this team have a lot to do with the fact that they come from different disciplines. They understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. They have deepened their interpersonal skills just by being involved with others and on the team and developing confidence in their teamwork. They've been so strongly supportive of each other. They're open to feedback from each other. And they've even in their struggles reached out to one another to clarify some of those uncertainties, which oftentimes you find unusual when a team is just getting together, but this has been the case for the whole semester. I think that what they're looking forward to in this next semester is using their project planning skills more handily, learning things from things from outside of their own academic domains, and sharing more among the team on a personal basis. They certainly are joyful when they get together. And I am truly amazed at the fun they're beginning to have. I think one thing I'm going to call up, and I hope that Simran will forgive me, but he promises us a show. That is, he promises the team a show as soon as we get through the SIF year. He's going to dress up for us in this world famous outfit that he has. And for me, that kind of shows you the humor of the group. I'm not going to divulge the secret. I'll let him say something about it if he wants to, and perhaps we can persuade him to perform for all of us at a later time. So now I'd like you to meet the team, and Manasa will start us.
Hi everyone, I'm Manasa Chinta. I'm a sophomore in computer science.
Hi, I'm Sierra Kabir. I'm a junior in political science.
And I'm Simran Singh. I'm doing my PhD in electrical engineering, and I'll be dressing up as a drag queen, and I'll be playing guitar for my group.
Hi, I'm Emma Wilson, and I'm a sophomore in wildlife science, ecological engineering, and plant biology.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaya Pothardi, and I'm a sophomore in economics.
Hey everyone, I'm Maddie Hornsby. I am a senior in business administration and entrepreneurship.
Hey everyone, I'm Deepthi Chinsalpudi, and I'm a grad student in industrial engineering.
Information regarding Uganda's communities and power sources are as follows. An estimated population of 45 million, growing at a rate of 3.6% a year, puts a strain on natural resources. GDP grows at 6.4% annually, yet a majority of the population lives in poverty, partially due to a lack of access to energy. Due to the privatization of the energy sector and high tariffs by many major energy suppliers, The average citizen can't afford basic electricity, causing the per capita consumption of fossil fuels, hydropower, and renewable energy to range from 0 to 5%.
AWA's founder had a dream to enhance education, and he initially planned to send computers to Uganda. However, AWA discovered that access to electricity was a greater barrier to education. OER saw the need and started to fill it. Our venture partner is a great example of how to put empathetic thinking into practice. OER executes a model in which they work to understand life situations and function as partners with communities. In 6 years, AWA has completed 32 solar installations, providing 150 kilowatt hours of solar power to 36,000 individuals. By 2022, their goal is to have 50 solar panels installed. All components of each project, from solar panels to labor, are sourced locally from Uganda or neighboring countries. OER operates in rural regions where at least 50% of the total population is under the age of 17. Solar energy provides a clean, sustainable source of electricity while limiting damage to public health, local communities, and carbon emissions. It is important to emphasize that solar energy was chosen due to the benefits it provides.
AWA is a great example of hearts and minds across the globe coming together to address an international social problem. The Ugandan community is directly impacted by AWA. AWA installations provide refrigerations for vaccines and lights in schools and medical centers. AWA also procures its components locally, contributing to the growth of Ugandan economy. AWA's advisors and sponsors are across the Atlantic Ocean in America. In order to meet AWA's vision, it is essential to obtain grants from their sponsors, and to attract grants, it is critical to evaluate AWA's impact on the Ugandan community and then present this impact appropriately to the sponsors.
OER aims to increase access to education, thus creating educational equity. Local reporting, more funding, community support, and technical expertise from the US-based team could lead to more effective school outreach, increased literacy, higher graduation rates, and more trust between Ugandan communities and the nonprofits. AWA currently trains local workers to take care of installations and maintenance. The US team is also using information from Guardian and Bella systems to provide information about the health of the solar systems and their components. In addition, the nonprofit conducts annual competitions to award schools with the best maintained solar panels. Among all the resources the organization requires, funding seems to be the most concerning issue, which we hope to address.
In order to understand the systems in play, we identified several aspects of importance to OER, including the community, the environment, and then uses of data. So within the communities, we found it important to address the security of the students, the stimulation of the local economy, existing infrastructure, and access to education. Regarding the environment, some aspects we discussed are greenhouse gas emissions, Uganda's national grid, and the recycling of components. Thinking about the uses of data, we also addressed the current relationship between All We Are and their donors, as well as the goals of better data application. So it's important to note that there are connections both within and between each section. Improved data visualization is connected to many other aspects of the system, such as through the documentation of environmental impact, community growth, and improved relationships with donors. So we're working to find a better method of reaching a diverse group of people and communicating All We Are's impact. And so in order to do so, Kea is going to discuss our future avenues.
All We Are has not yet produced an impact report for donors and supporters. Our team can help create a report that will show statistics about the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and cost effectiveness of AWA solar systems compared to the national grid. It would also provide stakeholders with an understanding of how donations are being allocated. Our team can also help All We Are plan for future installations using a geographical information system, which can help identify community growth and potential installation sites. Our team will conduct thorough research on how to utilize this system in a cost-effective manner. We'd like to thank All We Are for their immense transparency and time. And thanks to the SIF staff for their assistance and support, and to the professional speakers that have shared their expertise with us during the labs. Thank you.
Thank you, All We Are team. I'd like to introduce Nathan Thomas, the founder and CEO of All We Are, to give us a few remarks.
Thanks, Alicia. Gosh, this is great. It's an honor to be here. Rachel and I were just talking. We graduated from college 5 years ago, and this is a remarkable program. So thank you to the SIF staff and all the mentors and venture partners that make this possible for so many. This is truly so important. And a big thanks to Jane and to our All We Are team for their hard work over the course of this past semester. Definitely in a strange last couple of months, to say the least. We've just been so impressed with their dedication to our organization and to understanding how we operate and why we do things the way we do. They've been incredibly insightful already and really just thoughtful in how they approach the work. And that's the type of transparency that we've come to appreciate within our organization. And it's so exciting to see them embrace that. And this is a really smart group. I think you saw from that presentation, the things they're putting together are very unique, and these are angles that our organization hasn't fully identified or perhaps have really analyzed. So we're really grateful for the time the team has spent just learning more about our organization. I think it was Kea who mentioned that we haven't published a impact report yet. And so we have a lot of good work that we're excited to share, and looking forward to working with them to make that possible. And hopefully that goal of 50 installations comes sooner than 2025. So thank you to the team for the hard work, especially a big thanks to Jane for all of her efforts in the past couple months, and looking forward to continuing working with you all in the next semester.
Thank you, Nathan, and great job, team. Now I'm going to turn it over to Brian Spate, our team mentor for NCC Grant Project.
Thank you. I am Brian Spade, and I am the mentor for the NC Grant team. I am, however, channeling my inner Andrew. I'm trying my best to be more like you, Andrew. So as the presentation comes up, just a little background. Since 1970, our venture partner, North Carolina Sea Grant, has been a valuable resource for scientists, educators, local and state government agencies, and even coastal businesses and the general public for scientifically sound information, specifically related to our state's coastal ecosystem. And our team this year will focus on plastic pollution, both increasing awareness of macro plastic pollution through the use of technology. And we hope to do that and to form a basis for data collection, which will ultimately influence kind of future analysis. To date, just wanted to express how wonderful it's been to watch the passion and enthusiasm from these guys and gals. I like to think it's good mentoring, but it's not. It's sit back and watch these kids go. They're amazing. The enthusiasm that they brought to the table. The team specifically is actually made up of Aman, who is a second-year graduate student in industrial engineering, Aaron, who's a sophomore in environmental sciences, and Grace, who's a senior in business administration with minors in nonprofit studies, psychology, and political science. Marissa, who's a senior in environmental science with a minor in political science. Vanessa, who's a senior in wildlife biology and international studies. And my partner in crime, who's our senior fellow, is a junior in chemical engineering. It's Miriam. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marissa, who will talk a little bit about our project scope.
Sorry you guys can't see me, but everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So to begin, our NCC grant project is focused on impacting SDG 14, life below water and the conservation and sustainability of oceans, seas, and marine resources. Our overall goal is to redesign the plastic pollution experience. We plan to achieve this by creating innovative ways for both citizens and policymakers to understand, minimize, and quantify the presence of plastic pollution. We are interested in doing this project for the sake of NC waterways while also indirectly impacting human health. In the past 15 years, over half of the world's plastic was produced. This is important to note because it shows just how little progress as a population we have made in terms of plastic pollution. Our project is important because plastic concentrations in North Carolina are vastly unknown due to the minimum studies that have been conducted to quantify plastic contamination. So our project is intended to serve as an additional resource. We plan to redesign the plastic pollution experience by increasing the awareness of macroplastics to diverse stakeholders, which we will discuss in the following slides, through the use of technology.
Systems thinking is a really good representation of our thought process in the development of our project, and it's based on considering this problem from several standpoints, which will help us maximize the effectiveness of our solution in the long run. For example, policymakers aren't making well-educated decisions in order to create policy, showing how the lack of education influences a lack of policy in regards to both plastic regulation and plastic usage. And because there aren't many policies, manufacturing companies can make plastics much easier and more available to consumers. And plastic water bottles are much cheaper than reusable, which creates a reliance on plastic culture as a result. And lower income individuals don't always have the ability to invest in reusable items, so single-use plastic is used as a default and targets that demographic. Also, plastics build up in our waterways from pollution, and our waters are exposed to toxic chemicals as macroplastics degrade, which adversely affects human health. So this approach of viewing plastic pollution as an interaction among several factors rather than a single issue has helped us approach our project more strategically. And as we develop our project, we have to consider how these factors and many more work together to influence our problem.
Our NCC grant Marine Reef project focuses equally on internal and external stakeholders. Our internal stakeholders will be concentrated on researchers in order to collect data on the importance of preventing marine plastics in our waterways, as well as effectively communicating the data analysis. We'll also focus on NC State University professors and staff to create awareness of the issue through education and student involvement. Our external stakeholders will be concentrated on a combination of funding programs for support of the technology and NC government in order to influence consumers and industry environmental behavior through policy. Slide.
So empathetic thinking. So like the current state of doing is, since the plastic pollution is something which is region specific and that is happening in most of the areas, it is not something which has been regularized, or there are so many laws that have been enforced to regularize it. So the current state of thinking is, so this problem is something which is not maybe considered as one of the pressing issues which local government could refer to as that is requiring financial backing and the lobby support. So current state of feeling is currently this issue is not something that is taken care at a tangible levels. What we aim to do with this project is what we ideally think that can be done is through a research and quantification of data. We want to incorporate this into the policy to reduce the plastic pollution and educate people towards the severity of this issue. And what is towards this, what is the thinking part is to change in the policy that could have substantial impact on the environment and human health, which could lead to the preventive measure towards combating the challenge. Ideal feeling is the local policymakers would care about the plastic pollution and bringing in new policies.
So now looking at our theory of change tree, I'm going to be focusing on these bottom two bubbles, input and activities. So our team is conducting a literature review of data to see what has already been done with microplastic research regionally. And we are also networking through the NCC grant and NC State to see what researchers are currently doing. Our next step next semester is going to be focused on activities. So we want to create a solid foundation of macroplastic data collection. And we hope that we can make this a repeatable and sustainable process so that it can be continued throughout this or beyond this year. One possibility that we've considered is using a camera to observe local waterways and then use AI to analyze that data. So in the future, outputs will include quantitative data on how much microplastics in local waterways. Future SIF teams could use this data for policy and also help long-term advocacy groups with their work. We hope to eventually influence consumer and industry behavior to eventually go towards our long-term impact, which is reducing macroplastic pollution in our waters.
Coming into this project, our first challenge is that we all came from really different backgrounds, which is a big strength in some situations, but for us it was also difficult because we came in with a lot of different interests and passions. So our first challenge was figuring out how those connect and how those align, and also when to make sacrifices for the common good of our team. Another challenge we had was that Sea Grant graciously had so many options for us. And with that freedom came sometimes us having moments being overwhelmed in which direction to go and what to hone in on because we wanted to explore everything. Additionally, another challenge we had is that we identified that we wanted to incorporate AI and to be innovative in our approach of collecting research, but figuring out how to feasibly do that has been a challenge of ours as well. As far as our proposal, our long-term end goal is to influence water policy in North Carolina through the use of AI technology to gather research and educate our stakeholders. We want to create a model for future social innovation fellows through qualitative research and set up a path for future fellows to continue on with a micro investment. And lastly, we just wanted to say thank you to the SIF team, NCC Grant, and all of you for listening to everything we've learned so far. We've learned so much and we're excited to continue our work next semester.
Awesome job, Fellows team. Thank you so much for that presentation. And actually with us is Susan White, who's the Executive Director of NCC Grant at NC State. Susan, would you like to give a few remarks?
Sure, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and what a wonderful set of presentations we've already heard. I'm just super impressed with our Sea Grant team and how they are struggling with what is really a huge challenge with marine plastics, both in freshwater and ocean water. And it's really a eye-opening to see the different boundaries that have to be crossed amongst the different technologies as well as the different expertise. So it's been a pleasure to see them struggle, because it is a struggle. They're creating a basic foundation from which other programs, and hopefully teams will move forward. So I'm looking forward to working with them next semester and moving forward, and wish them all the best at the end of the semester. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next we have another guest speaker from one of our labs. This is Thomas Armstrong, who's the COO of 9 Miles Media. And Thomas, we would just love to hear one sentence that you'd really love to leave with the fellows based on everything that you taught them in your lab.
Yeah, 100%. It's great to be back with all of you. It's been a couple of years since I had a fantastic opportunity to be a part of the first year of the Social Innovation Fellows. And it's amazing to see how much it's grown already. And even just the work that you guys have been able to put together in one semester compared to what we could do is pretty incredible. So kudos to all of you. I had a great time chatting with a lot of you at the last Innovation Lab. We talked about some pretty crazy stuff. We talked about fun stories of, randomly cold emailing celebrities or famous book authors and trying to fly out to meet them in different cities and different countries and having a lot of fun with it. I wanted to leave one thought with all of you. I hear a lot of you mentioning, you want to continue to do some research, you want to connect with experts, you want to continue down the path with your idea. And I would just encourage you to, really not limit your own potential with it, not limit the way that you think about it. Don't think that you need to go after these things the same way that anybody else has ever gone after them. You can do it in a totally creative, totally different way, however you want to do it. So whether that's, putting together some crazy website or some video to convince some high-level expert to talk to you, or just anything you can do to really go about these projects in a creative way, especially some of the teams who are trying to get attention of students or of people for surveys or for anything like that. Try and go about it in a really creative way. So that's the one thought I'll leave with you. I hope it's helpful to you. Excited to see what you guys put together, and I'll definitely be back in the spring to check in.
Thank you, Thomas. That was really awesome. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jamal Pullen, who is the team mentor for P1T, People First Tourism.
Okay. All right. People First Tourism is a venture that's focused on tourism across the world and introducing tourists to local kind of off the beaten path companies that work, not the commercial things that you might see. So that has been stalled and kind of hit the brakes in the situation that we're in right now. So another side of People First Tourism is provisions, and that is focused on people that are vacationing on the coast of North Carolina. So that's where the team has been working, and they have shifted on the fly to work with that area. The members of the team are Anna Grace, Meg, Cedric, Danica, Jada, and the senior fellow is Meghana. And I kind of feel like the folks are using their past experiences and skills, and they're finding that focus in that direction that they'd like to go to be able to work with the provision side. And I kind of compare it to those artists that you see that carve wood or ice, and it's just this big block of ice or wood, and all of a sudden they've got a chainsaw and they've got this idea in their mind, and by the time 3 hours is over, you've got this just unbelievable, detailed alligator or turtle. I'm starting to see those things come together. They're taking those first cuts, and I don't think they realize, but they're really moving down a path, and I'm really excited to see. And I think the direction they're going is going to be really impressive by the time they get to the end. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the first member of the team, Danica.
Hi, everyone. As you said, I'm Danica, and our venture partner is Duarte Marias, and we're People First Tourism. I'm Danica Uzenga, a senior studying criminology and international studies with a minor in business administration.
I'm Jada Wyatt. I'm a sophomore in the Poole College of Management, studying business administration.
I'm Anna Grace. I'm a junior in Parks, Rec, and Tourism Management and Environmental Science.
Hey, I'm Cedric. I'm a sophomore in computer science. I'm Meg, and I'm a junior double major in science, technology, and society and sociology. We'd also like to shout out our senior mentor, Meghana, and of course, Jamal. Thank you for that introduction.
So, People First Tourism's mission is to offer a customized experience for discerning travelers interested in expanding their lives through trips to genuine people and communities eager to share their culture and lives with appreciative guests.
So this is a statistic showing the percentage of people who traveled within the last 6 months who have either changed their plans or canceled their trips. And like Jamal mentioned in his introduction, hopefully this gives you an idea of how much tourism has drastically changed in a very short time. So what is People First Tourism? So P1T encompasses several different projects, including providing journeys or multi-day trips to places all over the world, day trips, which are unique single-day experiences, the People First Tourism Lab, which is a global network of academic programs that link tourism with entrepreneurship, and we have one here at NC State. And then finally, what has kind of been the brunt of our project, working with People's First Provisions, which provides local produce to travelers.
So using what we have learned this semester, which we'll talk about later in the presentation, we're going to be moving forward with finding a solution in the spring semester. This solution will be focused on encouraging growth within People First Tourism and Provisions, and also helping them find new locations for their company.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to help People First Tourism, but how can we help to kind of encourage new growth and expansion of its current operations? And honestly, it's simple, and we've broken it up into feasible operations into kind of two different distinct but also related projects that we intend to pursue during the upcoming spring semester. So firstly, on the left here, we're going to validate new coastal-based markets around the Carolinas by using interviews and kind of researching how can we improve and expand the operations of People First Provisions. And that means we're, currently being influenced by a global pandemic that won't be going away anytime soon, but we can use phone interviews and video communication to kind of further understand the areas around the Carolinas and what we really want to pursue. And on the other hand, looking at the right side of the presentation, we're really interested in kind of telling the stories of hundreds of farmers who currently partner with People First Provisions and offer the produce to the various travelers that are going to the Outer Banks right now. And this gives us an opportunity to highlight the diverse group of hardworking people that provide so much to our state and country. And that's something that we as a team are super excited to work on. So we've got a great skill set on our team as we introduced ourselves earlier. And from those who can tell stories to people who can do photography to people who can do videography, we've got such a unique position right now to be able to take on a challenge such as telling these stories. And we're really looking forward to creating something special.
Now to talk more about our work this past semester, we're going to talk about how we've measured our success as a team. One of the first things we learned in our August lab was project scoping, where our team learned about the what, who, context, goals, and assumptions when working with P1T. First, the what. Our team and People First Tourism focuses on redesigning the tourism experience and creating ways for tourists to engage in their destination's local economy through agriculture on vacation. This is specifically designed for tourists, but also considers the farmers, community hosts, and realty partners. To put it in context, People First Tourism operates in a world where tourism often negatively impacts host communities. And then our goal as a team this semester and moving forward has been to facilitate interactions between tourists and local farmers with as few complications as possible, while also exploring new markets in North Carolina and beyond. And finally, we're testing the assumption that vacationer-supported agriculture can connect tourists and farmers while also helping these tourists engage in responsible tourism.
Awesome. And now when it comes to understanding the stakeholders of People First Tourism, we have such a large and diverse mural that we've created, and what we've essentially done is kind of simplified it into the graph that you see right here. And when we designed our solution for People First Tourism, as I talked about just a second ago, we took a look at all the components involved in People First Tourism. And what's crazy is this is only a slice of what the organization is made up of. But we decided to focus on farmers and realty components and kind of work on a project that's beneficial to both of those parties while helping out People First Tourism.
And then to build off of what Cedric was saying, we decided to focus on different systems of thinking. And so there were 3 different aspects we discussed. The first was structural change. We discussed the different policies preventing distribution and specifically how to address the ways which outward growth is currently being prevented, specifically due to COVID. Secondly, we talked about relational change. We recognize that there is limited access of consumers recognizing and interacting with farmers, and so this is causing a disconnect. And then lastly, we addressed the transformative change, in which we talked about the lack of understanding of P1T and how it positively impacts different generations and communities of farmers.
So for our theory of change, we figured that we would start by research, trying to familiarize ourselves with the company and its roles and our mission as fellows. Next, we moved into deepening our empathy, where we took a closer look at the farmers and the current condition of the actual business. This is where we developed our stakeholder map. Next was understanding the priorities of the business in relation to importance and time frame. There were so many things that we were interested in doing and helping the company, but we had to kind of prioritize and understand, what we can group together, what we can accomplish in the short amount of time that we have. Next, we started reflecting on our newfound knowledge and assessing how our skills and talents can be of use. Like Cedric was saying, we do come from a lot of different backgrounds, so kind of combining all of our efforts to make the most meaningful product. Now we're looking forward to the next semester of producing innovative change as fellows through our partnership with P1P. Our ultimate goal is to help People First provisions explain their business and thereby promote more support of farmers and local economies from vacationers through purchases of produce bags.
So to fully understand a problem from the perspective of all stakeholders, you need to come from a place of empathy. So in our November lab, we completed an empathy map for vacationers, which is one of our stakeholders of interest. From this, we found that from the perspective of the consumer, ease of access and cost are important considerations. And we hope to incorporate this into framing the way that we frame our solutions by weighing the needs and wants of the consumer with also the goals of the farmer and all of the other stakeholders.
And that's the end of our presentation. We just wanted to thank everyone who's been working with us, including the Social Innovation Fellows for putting together all the programs, of course, our leaders and our venture partners. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, P1T team. And now I'd like to invite Duarte, who is the founder of P1T and faculty member at NC State, to give us a few remarks. Duarte.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's been thrilling to watch all the presentations thus far. I think we have 1 or 2 more to go. I wanted to just be brief, but I would start first with people, since I'm from People First. I wanted to say that it's been a pleasure to work with Jamal and with this team. I've come to know a lot about them, about some of them like photography, some discussed with me web development platforms. I learned things about like HelloFresh and other ideas like that. It really has been nice to get to know you, and I hope that you've enjoyed interacting with me, and then through me, the other members of the P1T ecosystem. The next thing is process, and that's been a learning experience for me. As a moonlighting CEO of a startup, we are just kind of in a really hurried way all the time to manage this team and to fuel these movement. And we started 8 years ago with help from a mentor that came to us kind of somewhat indirectly through the SIF program. And we worked on a business plan and thought a lot about where we wanted to go. But then since then, we've been putting down fires and hurrying and pivoting and adapting and trying to grow the company and trying to generate income to the micro entrepreneurs. And just having you force me to take time on Fridays to think through these kinds of issues, empathy exercises and stakeholder maps, it has been useful to me. And so believe in the process. I believe in the process. Thank you for that. And then lastly, regarding the product, the deliverable, we talked a little bit about that in the last meeting, and you've alluded to some of that today. And I want to tell you that everybody in our ecosystem is excited about these communication activities that you're planning on doing. If we communicate provisions is different from the usual, like ordering from grocery stores and things like that, and vacationers get confused. If they get confused, they have to ask us, and we have to have people explain things to them. That costs money. That means less of the money is retained by the farmers. So if you help us explain who we are to vacationers a little bit better, then that's definitely going to benefit the farmers that are growing the produce and selling it through us. So that's really, really cool, and it really will help us a little bit. And then the other thing is that you plan to help us inject the farmer into the experience. We are trying to be different from just providing healthy product conveniently. We want people to feel like they're developing a relationship with the farmer. So you are excited about creating those kinds of video introductions. And we're in our side thinking about lots of things that we can do. And I already mentioned your work in a stakeholder meeting this morning with extension directors from all around the coastal and intercoastal counties in North Carolina. They're excited to work with you. Everybody's excited to work with industrious young students from NC State. And so they're totally on board, and they are welcome. They're welcoming to your contact, and they will be as helpful as they can. So thank you so much. I look forward to wrapping up this semester and getting back on you in January.
Thank you, Duarte. So now we have the pleasure of seeing our final presentation from the Episcopal Farmworker Ministry team. Team Mentor Miles Wright, I'm tossing it over to you.
Great, thank you. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I have to say, in watching these presentations, when I go back 3 or 4 or 5 months and thinking about what this year was going to be like, I am kind of blown away at how the quality of work that everybody's done, the solidness of these presentations, the depth of thought. The reality is that I can't really tell much difference between this year and the 2 prior years in terms of this stage of the program. So, and I think a lot of the credit for that obviously goes to the students. So one of the things I've learned about NC State students, particularly in this program, is if you just give them an opportunity to be exceptional, they'll take it. But the other thing is I want to give a big shout out to the professional staff, to Elizabeth, Alicia, Jack, Craig, and James' leadership as well. I think going into this year, there were a lot of questions, instability, uncertainty about how this was all going to work out. And what I see tonight is a resounding success. So, so thank you to that. Our team, like every team, has faced big challenges, but what I've really noticed in our team is this great perseverance and just this team dynamic that is hard to describe. Every year, I think my previous year's team is the best that it'll ever be, and every year I'm surprised at how good my next one is. So our team is really made up of 5 seniors: Austin Dunlow, Holly Newman. We have 1 junior, Carolyn McMillan, Jenny Grosny, Zachary Taylor, and our senior advisor, Olivia Merritt. I'll turn it over to the team, but I have to say, this has been a great team, and I'm very, very proud of the work they've done thus far.
Okay, cool. So Miles already introduced us. We'll be talking about our work with the Episcopal Farmworker Ministry. But first, I wanted to give you a little bit more information about who the Episcopal Farmworker Ministry actually is. Episcopal Farmworker Ministry, their mission is to respond to the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of farm workers. They're based out of Dunn, NC, currently. Some of their methods as far as responding to these needs of farm workers are direct services, farm worker support programs, advocacy, and also leadership development. In particular, they do work with H-2A, which is like visas for temporary workers. They also do clothing drives, food drives. They have since they are connected with the ministry, they also have La Sagrada Familia, which is like sort of like spiritual support. And they also have Inmigrantes Unidos, which supports farm workers with respect to like immigration concerns. And they do that with low cost lawyers and whatnot, or legal professionals. So some of the main people we've been working with this semester include Larissa Garzon, who's the executive director, and also Juan Caravagna, who's the program coordinator. When it comes to project scoping and sort of thinking about a lot of the issues that farm workers face, we had an initial conversation with Juan, and he sort of described a lot of the some of the issues that farm workers are facing, like not only now acutely as a result of COVID, but also just as a result of really I would say legal factors, but also social factors, a lack of visibility in the public eye. So as a result, when our team sat down and started thinking about how we would scope this project, we took a very visual means of approaching it at first. So we sort of came up with diagrams like this that you see on the screen about sort of some of the main issues that we could pinpoint from our discussions and from our readings. Juan was kind enough to give us basically reading material and literature on a lot of the problems and issues farm workers face. And we were able to really segment and break down the problem in terms of, we thought about grassroots organizations who support farm workers. We thought about legal and policy issues that are impacting them negatively. We thought about environmental effects and also food and sustainability and how that plays a role. And also historical influences and how that was impacting them today. So this is just one illustration or example of one of the output of that work. We also did a similar thing here when we were focusing, this was created, I believe, by Caroline. We focused a lot on food insecurity in particular as part of our research. And here is just an example of that. So we have this sort of visual way, like I was saying, of sort of mapping things out. And as a result of thinking about and scoping the project, we came up with a few, really one or two main foci. We kind of think that our main goal really our main intention is to redesign the experiences farm workers have with regard to food quality, food accessibility, and food affordability. We want to create ways to enable access to healthier, higher quality, more affordable food, because one of the things that came up in our initial conversation with Juan was that a lot of times farm worker diets are not the best, partly because a lot of them do not have transportation where they can just go to the store, and also just a result of their very demanding work schedules. They can't just leave work during lunch break or something and go to Food Lion. It doesn't work like that. So access to healthier and higher quality and affordable food is something that we thought was important. And of course, we were thinking about farm workers, we had them in mind, right, and the problems they're facing, but we also, through our discussions, talked a lot about like the overarching food system, and thought about not only farm workers, but also farmers and consumers and how they're impacting the situation. To provide some context, I don't really think it's hard to understand, but or to recognize, but a lot of times farm workers' contributions go unrecognized. One of the things we highlighted from our research was that when it comes to food, there's often an idyllic image people have of this lone farmer who is like I don't know, like harvesting like 30,000 bales of corn by himself. He has this one tractor that it doesn't really work like that. There's a lot of people that go into it, into that process. And so, to keep in the context, we wanted to recognize that farm workers' contributions often go unrecognized. That's a contextual thing we had to consider. We also wanted to keep in mind that there can be cultural barriers between our ideas of a solution and farm workers and their lifestyle. So like our notion of a solution may not even really be appropriate. So we have to think about that. And our ultimate goal is to encourage a more sustainable lifestyle and promote the well-being of farm workers, farmers, and consumers. And we must test the assumption that increasing access to healthier, more affordable food is what farm workers truly want, would benefit from. Because there may be something that, though we see that as from our research as an important problem, right? There may be things that are more pressing, like legal concerns or the acute COVID-19 situation. So that's sort of our project scoping.
Here we focused on mapping the stakeholders involved in the issue. Our stakeholder map was much bigger than this, but I decided to emphasize just a few of the connections that we thought were important. We focused a lot on connections that were indirect or were one-way connections because they represented a gap in the web of interactions that make farm work happen. The two biggest ones we noticed were the fact that farm workers and consumers don't have a direct connection, and the fact that policy creation is a one-way street for farm workers. As you can see, the only connection between farm workers and consumers is through the middlemen of farmers and produce suppliers and grocery stores, which is especially interesting considering that farm workers are consumers themselves. The other interesting connection was that policymakers impose policy on farmers and farm workers, and farmers then impose this policy on farm workers. But farmers generally have a say in policy creation, while farm workers tend to not have a say. And because of these misconnections, we felt like these two issues represented big issues in the area of farm work.
In our systems mapping, we focused on the main challenges that farm workers are facing and the reasons behind those challenges. And these include poverty, health issues, and social stigma. And some of the main causes of farm worker poverty are low wages and productivity-based pay, as many farm workers are paid by how much produce they pick, in addition to a lack of legal protections and a lack of access to healthcare, which is also a main cause of the many health issues in farm workers, along with occupational hazards like pesticides, COVID-19, and dehydration, and several others, and a poor diet, as mentioned before. And the social stigma of farm workers has many causes, including language and cultural barriers, social isolation, lack of visibility, the idea of American exceptionalism, and immigration. And our main takeaways from this exercise were that the majority of these causes of these issues that farm workers are facing are structural in nature. However, some of the causes behind the social stigma that surrounds farm workers are relational and transformative. And also many of these causes are dependent on one another. And so just improving one of these areas would have a major positive impact on farm workers.
For our empathy map, we focused on the perspective of farm workers. So the first part of empathy map is doing. Right now, we said that farm workers are providing for their families by traveling from one low-paying job to another. In the future, as Zach sort of mentioned with our project scoping, we hope that farm workers will be working in a safe, fair, and respectful environment. The next aspect of the empathy map is thinking. So right now, we anticipated that farm workers are thinking that they're tired and worried and wondering how to make ends meet, as well as thinking, like any parent, is how can I give my child a better life than my own? So we're hoping eventually that they will be thinking that they're financially, nutritionally, occupationally, and mentally stable. Along with thinking goes the feeling aspect of the empathy map. So right now, farm workers are feeling underrepresented, unheard, and anxious about the future of their jobs, whether that's in regards to COVID-19 or just the nature of traveling from job to job. We're hoping in the future farm workers can feel represented, appreciated, and acknowledged for their work. In some ways we've looked at doing that are through policies such as minimum wage, as well as instituting programs that Episcopal Farm Worker Ministry already does. So these three aspects complete our total empathy map. But one thing I want to add is that through this exercise and eventually towards looking for solutions for our project, we want to remain aware of the actual feelings of farm workers rather than projecting our own thoughts or preconceived notions onto them. And we've decided that looking at this through an empathy mapping lens is a really good way to do that, as well as trying to reach out to farm workers and learn more about their situations.
So our last exercise that we employed in our discovery phase is called the theory of change, which focuses on how we can go about affecting change and challenges individuals to break down these goals into smaller, more manageable tasks and actions. You can go ahead, thank you. We established our mission statement of encouraging a more sustainable lifestyle and promoting well-being of farmers, farm workers, and consumers, which we hope to accomplish through an end goal of providing healthier, more accessible, and more affordable food options for farm workers. We're going to attempt to go about this in three ways. Healthier to us means that farm workers are healthier because of more nutrient-rich diets, which potentially makes them more productive. More accessible means it's making it easier and less stressful to make more nutritious food choices for farm workers and their families. Additionally, farm workers would be able to spend less time not at work getting food, which gives them more free time during their breaks, as well as making it easier for them to get food at other points in time, allowing them more time to spend with their families and then other leisure activities. While more affordable to us means potentially increased economic activity as a result of discretionary income, more economic freedom, and participation in previously unexplored economic spaces, such as leisure activities, perhaps going to the movie theater, which they may not have had the economic ability or option to attend before. And according to research found by one of our team members, evidence shows that a reduced strain on government occurs if immigrant communities have more money to spend. And when these immigrant communities do have more money to spend, they actually invest these funds back into other immigrant communities to support them. These outcomes will be made possible through the actions that we've listed on the slide that we identify will further our mission. And Austin, you can go ahead. So the big question is, what does all of this mean? Through our goal of aiming to encourage a more sustainable lifestyle and promote well-being of farm workers, farmers, and consumers, we hope to see this change play out in the following ways. Implementing sustainable and thoughtful solutions to provide farm workers with more stable and supportive work environments, financial situations, and physical health. Providing peace of mind to families as well as appreciation of farm workers while decreasing potential stressors. And the result would be a more mindful and collaborative food system built on equity and communication between farm workers, farmers, and consumers. So, what can you do? We would like to leave you with this. As we have discussed throughout tonight, both within our group and within others, empathy and being able to understand the struggles of others are critical in both advocacy and activism work. And we would like to challenge you to use empathy in more areas of your life, particularly in your consumption, whether this be by making the choice to buy fair trade products, consuming products more ethically, sustainably, and when possible locally, or making an effort to further educate yourself on the plights of farm workers and how you can make a positive impact on the farm worker community. It is important to remember that farm workers are a critical part of our food systems, and that through employing greater empathy in our day-to-day and advocacy for this group, we can thank them for this imperative work that they do. Thank you for joining us tonight and listening to our work. We've really enjoyed sharing what we've been working on with you all.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, another of our lab presenters is Katie-Gray Altmann. She's a designer with Red Hat and spoke to our teams on empathetic thinking, especially when it comes to design work.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me back. I feel like it was just so recent. I was with you all speaking about empathy, and I have to say I really enjoyed going through the empathy mapping exercises with you guys, and just tonight seeing everybody's work. Everything y'all are doing is so inspiring. It makes me so proud and excited to be a part of the Social Innovation Fellows and to see you guys putting empathy into practice. It's very exciting. So just, to reiterate, very much like the last team just mentioned, empathy work is at the core of social innovation. All of you guys' projects are trying to make a positive social impact, and that really starts with empathy. It starts with cultivating that deep understanding of what somebody else is going through. I know that these days that can be a little bit more challenging than most. It can be harder to have those meaningful connections with people, but I know you guys can do it. Y'all can do anything. If you can do all of this, you can go out into the world virtually or however you are able to do so and forge those connections and cultivate a deeper understanding of all of your stakeholders so that you can make this world a better place. And I'm so excited to see you do it. So thank you for having me back, and thank you for all your great work.
Wow. Okay, we are just a few minutes off, and I'm kind of blown away. We have not had an opportunity to be in the same room together. Most of us have not even laid eyes on each other in person. You all have had to move home and move into different apartments, and the disruptions have been nonstop. And I just can't tell you how proud I am of each of you for your resilience and the great work that you're doing. It really is quite humbling for me to see. So if we were all together, we would have hugs and applause and maybe a glass of wine or two. And maybe someday, maybe in April, we'll be able to do that. But congratulations to each of you. I see some virtual hugs. We can't wait to see what you will accomplish in the spring. And as Raj always says, once a fellow, always a fellow. So we look forward to this being the start of a really special relationship and community. So with that, I am going to close the evening by asking Jeffrey Braden, who's Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, to offer closing remarks. Dean Braden.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and most importantly, thank you to the Social Innovation Fellows team. That's Elizabeth, Alicia, Jennifer, Tom, Andrew, and all the members of the team. And when I say team, I don't just mean the people who are charged with this as staff and faculty. I also mean alumni like Jane Rogers and Claire Jordan, who are on this call. Campus partners like Raj Narayan, Susan White, Tara Spivey, and Adam Bensley, and community partners like one of my alumnae and founder of A Place at the Table, Maggie Kane, but also Nathan Thomas from All We Are. And all of those make together the environment that makes this possible. But what really makes this special is the way in which the Social Innovation Fellows teams demonstrate two key attributes of NC State. The first is interdisciplinary collaboration to solve grand challenges of our planet. Whether they're right here on campus, down the street, in our community, across the state, all the way to the other side of the globe in Uganda, you have seen what happens when we bring together energetic, bright, talented, and committed students from a variety of disciplines and colleges across the campus to solve problems. They illustrate that a toolkit with 10 items shouldn't have 10 of the same items. Although it takes work for the hammer to appreciate and understand what the drill does and why, the number of problems 10 different tools can solve is exponentially larger than the problems that can be solved by an infinite number of the same tools. SIF teams bring together diverse perspectives and talents to create interdisciplinary problem-solving teams, toolkits to attack the problems of hunger, sustainability, access, and more. The second key attribute that Social Innovation Fellows teams embody is our campus motto, think and do. Innovative solutions require insights, critical thinking, and creativity. We've seen that thinking on display tonight. But although we know thinking is necessary, we also know it's not sufficient. Innovative solutions also require action. That's what defines these teams and NC State. Think and do isn't just a motto, it's how we roll at NC State. And I look forward to hearing how these teams do at the end of next semester. So thank you to the staff, mentors, partners, and most of all, the Social Innovation Fellows teams composed of students. You make us so proud of the Social Innovation Fellows of NC State and our legacy as North Carolina's land-grant university. Thank you.
Dean Braden, thank you everyone for coming. I see a lot of relieved faces. I wish you all a wonderful break. Stay in touch with us. We'll have some hangout options and we'll be in touch with you all. But thanks to everybody for coming. Thanks for your contributions. Congratulations on your really incredible work. And good night. Stay safe. Bye-bye.